not do why automatically does it not do that? Yesterday, because yesterday. Oh. Morning. Thanks for bringing the computer in and everything, setting it up. Are you? Why automatically does it not do that? What are we up to? Good. What happened was there was a baby that needed hot water after the bris. So they said, Rabbi said, drink hot water from my house. Abai was rejected it, so there's no Eruv, there's no Shiur from boys. And he said, let's ask a goy. Abai wasn't thrilled about that either, but they did it already, and then asked that goy. Then the Gemara comes up with the question: how can it be that two Talmidei Chachamim, Abai and Rabbi, didn't know Chotzer? There's no Eruv. The Gemara answered that Rabbi was the head; he couldn't do it. Abai didn't want to go around knocking on people's doors with busy learning, and he didn't want to give everybody a slice of bread because he couldn't do it on a weekly basis. The Gemara now suggests another solution how they could have made an Eruv. So we're up to Daf Samach Amud Aleph, about 10 lines, more 12 lines from the top. We just learned that if somebody makes an Eruv with a food, but he's not willing to give it away, then the Eruv is bottom. Right? If somebody makes an Eruv with something, but he's not willing to give away the food, the Eruv is bottom. Right? So if you use, as Mishavol says, Tashtita, your wife's kugel, let's say, and you won't let anybody eat from the kugel, then it's not got to be Eruv. Sefed the Gemara, v'niknu lehu, that's what we're up to, about 14 lines at the top. Niknu lehu, ma, v'v'yis dechala b'chavita. Vinegar, you only need a small amount. Why do you need a small amount? Because the way you eat vinegar is you dip your bread inside it. We've already talked about this before, that for an Eruv, you only need enough to be a condiment for the 2 meals. So what he should do is like this. He's got a bowl of vinegar. Everybody had a bowl of vinegar in the house in those days. It was part of having a household. So what you should do is, you should be makneh to the people of the Eruv, a revius, which is not a lot, just a revius of vinegar at the bottom of the bowl. And that way, it shouldn't be a problem because he knows he's always going to have a revius left. Now, what would that rely on? Anybody remember? This would rely on the concept of breira, because you're not defining which revius of vinegar. You're just saying that there will be a revius of vinegar. Oh, says the Gemara, and that way, what you just need to do is leave the barrel in your house, and you'll know there's always going to be a revius of vinegar. Tanya says the Gemara, so you can't rely on the storehouse. You're allowed to. B'Shamai hold ein breira, B'Hillel hold yesh breira, and therefore, according to B'Hillel, it's okay. Meaning that we just rely that whichever vinegar you use at the end, that's the thing. B'Shamai said there's no breira, so therefore we can't. So that's a very, very strong question. Abai was explaining why he never did it. Now we pass B'Shamai B'Hillel, who do pass like? Always. So if B'Hillel hold yesh breira, so then the question comes back, why didn't Abai rely on the bit of vinegar at the bottom as well? So Tosis answers because the machlokas of yesh breira and breira is world shas machlokas, and Abai held that B'Shamai B'Hillel never argued about it, and therefore he held different Tanoim argued about it, and he passed like the other Tanoim. Okay, so the Gemara says now Mishnah, where a Mishnah which talks about breira according to B'Shamai B'Hillel. The halacha is that if somebody dies, then what happens is everywhere under the house becomes tummy. Right? If somebody was to die in this room, Tali would not be allowed to be in the next room either. Why not? The same roof. Now, if there's a doorway, so then it depends. If we haven't decided which doorway you're coming out of, the dead person, then it becomes tummy everywhere. If let's say we decide only through that doorway, so then everybody in that corridor would be tummy, but the people in this room and that room would be tummy. And what happens if you only decided after the person died? So the question is, can you say breira? If you say breira, we say that when the person died, it was huva adavan and mafreya backwards. How did we say what was the article's words about breira? Retroactive designation. So if you have retroactive designation, we say that you're always going to designate this doorway to go out, so there's no problem. But if you're going to go that way, so there's no good. Says the Gemara, the Tanan, the person dies in the house with the Pesachim, Habis gone by the ancient, says, Kulon to me. If Zachechot Ben, who told me, Kulon to If one of them gets opened and the other ones were closed, and then the person dies, only that one is tummy. If you decide to take by one of them, or in a window which has got a 4x4, that it saves on all the other entrances, because that's the one you're going to use. You have to have decided before the person died. We said even when the person has died. So we see the summary of this Gemara, what we've learned. Aban Rabba never had an Eruv for a variety of reasons. He didn't want to give away his food, etc. He didn't want to, and since he didn't have an Eruv, carrying hot water from Rabba's chutzah to the other person's house was over an Issa D'Rabbanan. Nevertheless, Rabba allowed it. As we said yesterday in Machlekes, whether it was because the Shvus were Mokim Mitzvah, double Mokim Mitzvah, or alternatively, very good. Or Shvus Shem B'Mais. I was once sitting again with Velocity, I don't know why I'm sucking from him, and somebody came into him and said to him that the cholent was taken off the hot plate, and when the cleaner realized she'd taken off the cholent, she shouldn't have, trying to be overly helpful, she actually turned off the hot plate. I tell you this, she turned it off. So he said you can put it back on the hot plate and put the cholent back on Shabbos. By a goy doing it. Wait, you can ask the goy to do it. That's why. He said it's a shus for Mokim Mitzvah. He held that turning on the hot plate is only a D'Rabbanan because he said this is a chiddush of the Chazon Ish. It's a something even. Why? I mean, it's not 100%. I thought the whole thing was electricity. That's right. So he was being made for that. It's only D'Rabbanan. No, some people say it's the right. So, and he said not having Shalom Shabbos morning is a lack of Oinik Shabbos. So it's a mitzvah. So asking a goy to put the hot plate back on is the shus for Mokim Mitzvah. I was very surprised. I do it for faculty to allow it. It's a question whether you can say electricity is D'Rabbanan to rice. But that's the idea. Shus Mokim Mitzvah. That's the question. That is the shaila. Oh, that's right. That's Chazon Ish's chiddush. Okay. Now the Gemara's got a couple more stories about people that didn't have hot water. How unique is a baby lost his hot water and he needed it after the bris. Ask the mother. Because the mother, how's the mother? She's 8 days after birth. 8 days after birth, what's the halach? We actually had it in Shabbos very briefly. Up to 7 days, whether she asks or not, we assume that she needs to be Mechal Shabbos. But after 7 days, only if she says that she's ill. So let's ask her if she's feeling not well. If she's feeling not well, then it's the goy will have to heat up hot water for the mother. And once he has to heat up hot water for the mother, so then we can have for the baby as well. Surely the baby's also. No, because it was before the bris, and the question was whether to do the bris and then afterwards do hot water. Because if there's no hot water, you can't do the bris and then say the baby's in sakana. You have to, before the bris, have to have the hot water. You're asking a good question. I must admit. Baby under 8 days? No, baby under 8 days is not sakana. No, I thought you meant because of the bris. No. If you've done the bris, you're allowed to heat up the hot water. The problem is over here was before the bris, and the question is like, heat it up to get ready. So Gemara says, ask the mother. The mother sitting and eating dates. Dates is a heavy food. A normal person doesn't eat dates unless they're feeling hale and hearty. So the fact that the mother is eating dates is a proof that she's well. And therefore, how can you even ask her if she needs hot water? Sometimes a woman can be confused, meaning it could be that she's still not well, and she's eating dates not because she's feeling so well, simply because of the fact that she feels like she can go through different confusing moments. Now she's feeling a bit stronger, so she's eating dates, not because she's really better. Now what happened was like this. Rava thought of a brilliant idea. There was a few Yidden, imagine all four of us live around the compound, and the hot water gets spilled. So Rava thought that he'll do bittul rishus, and then that way it'll come out, they'll be able to carry our water. But Rava was concerned that if that would be the case, he would not be able to carry into the chutzah anything, because if you do bittul rishus, you are not allowed to carry. So therefore, what he wanted to do was to remind himself that he would not carry into the chutzah. There was a house which had an inner room and an outer room. The ladies always lived in the inner room. Why? Because it's more tznistic. The men lived in the outer room. Rava normally. Oh, that's right. Right, yes. He shows in deep in. So now he normally lived in the outer room. So he said, let's move into the inner room of the Shabbos, do bittul rishus, and then that way I won't come to carry in the chutzah, and then you can carry the hot water. So Omalu Rava, Panulu Moni mi be Gabli ben Enoshi, move my kelim from the men's house to the woman's room. Be'ezer be'ezer hasam, I'll sit there, v'vatel lehu or chotzam, v'vatel the chotzam. Only I would know Rava, Mama Shmon bitul shus b'chotz lechotz. You can't do a bitul shus b'chotz lechotz. What happened was, it wasn't that they all lived in one chotzer. It was two chatzeros next to each other. And actually, our school, and even here in Sifta and those, they all have a picture. But all it is two chatzeros next to each other. So you can't do bitul shus from a chotzer to a chotzer. So he said, I hold that there is bitul shus b'chotzer lechotzer. Now, why did Rava want to move out his kelim from the men's room to the inner room? Because he didn't want to Chas Shalom start carrying into the chotzah and spill the bitul rishus. And there's a big question. What would you say regarding? Can you do bitul rishus every half hour? For example, let's say there's 4 of us into the thing. I want to carry my deck chair into the garden to sunbathe. You want to take your children's toys outside the garden. So we'll do like this. From 9 till 10, you do bitul rishus to me. From 10 to 11 to you. 11 to 12 to you. 12 to 1 to you. What would you say? Good or not good? What would it is a machlokas, but what's the svod?
Not do it for once in the Shabbos, that's it.
But why? So more got a couple of svods, but one svod would be that perhaps once you've done a bittul, you're no longer part of the chotzah. So therefore, it's as if you're in a different chotzah. And therefore, if somebody else now does bittul to you, it's bittul, you relinquish. So therefore, it's bittul mechotza to chotza. So now, Rava, did he hold that you're allowed to change your mind every 5 minutes? What would you say?
The fact that he said yes.
The answer is not, because Rava said do bitul rishus and move my stuff into the inner room. What was he concerned about? How would he be able to take his things out for the rest of Shabbos? If he held he could do it every 5 minutes, what does he care? He can leave his kelim where they are. Do bitul rishus for the 5 minutes it takes to carry the hot water, and afterwards tell the person, fine, I did bitul rishus for you, now do bitul rishus for me, and I can carry. Says Bob, if you don't hold of Shmur, top of some ches amud beis, let you stay at where you are. You be battle to them. And then they can do a bittul to you, and then you don't need to move all your kelim. You can do bittul and do another bittul and another bittul every 5 minutes. So he said, I hold in that particular aspect, like you can't change your mind every 2 minutes. The Gemara haven't understood that the machloikas, as to whether you can constantly change your mind to do a bittul, is the machloikas as to whether why? Because once you've done a bittul, you've relinquished your possession of the chotzah. So now when somebody else does bittul to you, it's as if he's doing bittul from one chotzah to another. It says, once you did a bittul rishus, you removed yourself from here legami. It's as if you're living in another chotzah. So therefore, you can't be mevatel, because you're relying to do bittul mechotza lechotza, because the hot water needed to be removed from one chotza to the next, and you are saying that you can't do bittul after bittul after bittul. So you see this, no good. It's like, no. Really, shouldn't be a joke. Meaning like this. There are 2 reasons why you can't do bittul and another bittul and another bittul. One reason is, as the Gemara suggests in the Havamina, is because ein bittul rishus v'chotza l'chotza. And once you do a bittul rishus, you relinquished your whole connection to the chotza, and therefore when somebody's mevatel to you, it's as if it's been mevatel v'chotza l'chotza. That's one reason. The other reason is because it looks like a joke. If at 9 o'clock I'm mevatel to you, and 5 past 9 you mevatel to me, the whole idea of bittul looks like a joke. It says Rava, I hold that you can't do bittul and after another bittul, not because in mevatel v'chotza l'chotza, but only because it looks like a joke. And therefore, to do bittul from chotza to chotza is okay. And that's why for the hot water to be passed through my chotza to the other person's chotza, that's fine. The problem is only a different problem, that it doesn't look, it's no good. Since I hold that you can't do it again and again and again, so therefore, I'm going to be stuck the whole Shabbos. Once I do bittul, I'm never going to be able to carry into the chotza. And if I don't want Chas Shalom to be over carrying into the chotza, so therefore move all my belongings from the outer room into the inner room, and then that way I won't carry into the chotza. Is it clear? Gufa. Can you do bittul again and again? Now the Gemara is going to suggest a variety of explanations. What is the yesod of machlokas? What is the logic of machlokas? And once had the machlokas, when a person is mevatel, he's really being mevatel his possession in the chotzer. Let's get it clear. We all own a property around one chotzer. The house belongs to me. The chotzer belongs to all of us. We can't carry from the house. The chotzer carry from one rishus to another rishus. When I'm mevatel, what am I saying? That the chotzer belongs. Very good. Does that mean I'm also being mevatel my house? The nafkamina would be: can you go into my house and carry into the chotzer, or are you just allowed to carry? We had a machlokas about it. The Gemara wants to suggest that the machlokas ve'im bitul achabitul, the chutz vatlin, is the machlokas as to whether we battle the house or not. Let's think more inside. Leima vav shmur b'flut abul vav lezer kamifli. Tevav damakra bonom shmur damakra bolos. Why? That since you mevatel, you know mevatel the house, we're going on the other machlokas as well. The aim mevatel mechotz lechotz. So therefore, if you hold like the Rabbanon, that you're not mevatel the house, so therefore the house is still mine. Let's say I'm the one who's mevatel. Let's stick to my case. Right. I'm mevatel my shus in the chotzer. According to Rabbanon, I'm not mevatel my house, so the house still belongs to me. So I'm not now from a different chotzer because I'm still part of the entity, and therefore now you want to mevatel to me. Change our minds. I want it now. So you're not mevatel chotzer the chotzer. But according to Rabbi Lezer, that when I'm mevatel my chotzer, I'm also mevatel my house. So it's as if I moved out. If I've moved out now, I live now in another place, so you want to now mevatel to me, it's mevatel b'chotzer lechotzer. But that's the machlekes Rav and Shmuel, based on the fact that mevatel b'chotzer lechotzer is dependent on the machlekes if you mevatel the house or not. Says the Gemara, and therefore, since I was like the Rabbanon, you're not mevatel the house, therefore you're still part of the chotzer, and therefore you can mevatel again. Oh, look, no, don't have to do Abeleza. Add can come on, Abeleza, awesome, Abeleza, which is Chatzeh, which is basically bitter. Abeleza holds him battle in the house. Why? We should have buy for the Chatzeh, the Inchi. People in old days never lived without a Chatzeh. Therefore, it's impossible to battle the Chatzeh without battle the house. It doesn't make sense. What am I doing? I'm saying I don't live in the Chatzeh. That's like saying I don't live in half my dining room. Nobody does that. Obviously, I'm trying to move out. I don't want my house either. It doesn't mean that I've given up completely. I don't want to be part of this chotzer. I still want to be part of the chotzer. That which I've relinquished, that which I've relinquished, I'm not. That which I've relinquished, meaning the chotzer, I have completely relinquished. So therefore, it's no connection. Meaning, as to whether you be mevatel your house is to do with when you say A. Do you mean A and B or just A? I said I'm relinquishing my possession of the chotzer. Do I also mean the house? The machlekas, whether mevatel is a different question. It is indeed to do with the machlekas mevatel the chotzer, like we'll see on the stage. But the machlekas is, am I considered to be now a foreign person in this chotzer or not? That's the Gemara's explanation. What happens if I relinquish my rishus in the chotzer? I say, you know what, for this Shabbos, the chotzer is not mine. And then 5 minutes later, I carry my hat or my napol into the chotzer. What do we say? Comes on Gameh and says that what? That's it. The bittel's gone. Because now I'm showing by carrying my apple into the garden, that what am I showing? That it is my chotzer. So therefore I'm taking it back. If I do it on purpose, now, let's say, for example, you say to me, I want to borrow your Gemara. Asas that that's right. Nobody is allowed to carry. Asas the bits of rishus. Very good. Undoes the bits of rishus. Let's say I say to you, you ask me, can I borrow your Gemara? And then you pass it back, and I pass it back, and pass it. When you've got it, and I've got it, I've got it. Why? Because it's not like a long-term thing. You can do it back and forth. The Gemara at this stage understood the machloikas as whether asas or not is like this. If you say that you can be mevatel, it's like this, that every 5 minutes you can change your mind. So the second that I carry out b'shoigeg, what I'm showing is I've changed my mind. It's like, for example, I pass by a Gemara and then I take it without thinking and I look at it. So now when somebody would look at it and say, even if I'm not thinking why I'm doing it, where's the Gemara now? It's by me. But if you say no, that we look at it as that you can't chayz mevatel, so this only, it can't go back and forth. So Pshat is there has to be a decision making that I want to actually get rid of it, meaning that I want to undo it. So when it's been mazed and I decide I'm taking it out, so then I'm saying no, I don't like the bit of rishus. When it's b'shoigeg, So Pshat is not chayz battle. It's not something which you can just keep changing your mind back and forth. Once you do a bit of the shus, that's the last time you get to do this Shabbos. So therefore, only if amazing you don't do it. But b'shoigeg, Pshat is, I didn't realize what I was doing. Really, I still wanted to be yours, but by mistake, I took out an apple or something. So the Gemara says like this. Mishados, and let's do it again. Continue. Mishados and Shus Veitzim Mishkin Amazed Oisid. If I'm here, you're amazed Oisid Mishkin Oisid. My lab Balkom Ifki. Masa Matam Chazim Matam. Masa Matam Chazim Matam. The machlokes is whether you could do Chazim Matam or not. You can't change your mind, and therefore, really, once you've done a bit, so that's the end of it. Once you do a mezid, you do a knas of a sugar or to mezid, and the masav becomes sugar to mezid, and therefore, once you do a mezid, you undone it. The machlokes is by sugar or to mezid. He says that the first shot we just said before, which was that what the machlokes is. Are you relinquishing your house and the chotzer or just the chotzer? That's the machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Once you've relinquished your house and the chotzer, you consider to be from a different chotzer and therefore inviting the chotzer. When you've only relinquished your chotzer, you're not considered. Which asks an unbelievably hard question on this Gemara. Because we lemaisa paskin that what? They're mevatlim the chotzer. And therefore, regardless of what the Chachamim and the Rabbi Eliezer hold, that means whether they hold mevatel the house and the chotzer or just the chotzer, who cares? Even if you mevatel both, and therefore now you belong another chotzer, you should still be allowed to b'chuz vatin. So how can the Gemara say machlekes Rav and Shmuel is b'chuz vatin? Is a machlekes whether you relinquish your house and the chotzer, even if you relinquish everything you're allowed to. And the Torah says because of that it doesn't agree with Rashi's whole mahalach and the whole sukkah. It's a very good question. Okay. We're moving on to a new topic. We've said so far like this: a yid. If you've got a yid in your chotzer, what do you do to be able to join in? You've got one of two options: bittul or eruv. A goy, you can do schius. Now we're discussing a tzduki. A tzduki is a yid, but he unfortunately does not believe in Torah. He doesn't believe in his Yisur D'Rabbanan. The beginning of the mission never mentions tzduki. So how can Gamliel start talking about tzduki when we never talked about him at all? If you look at the beginning of the mission, it doesn't mention anything about tzduki. Just talks about goy, and suddenly we talk about tzduki. Tzduki, the Tanna Kamma says that tzduki is like a goy, meaning that the only way to work around it, tzduki, is what? Schius. So what can you do with it, tzduki? Bit of a shus. So therefore you see that indeed a tzduki is like me. That is a bit of a shus. Because if it was like you, that it's tzduki is like a go, you do schius, and schius he can't change his mind. Is a right to my shittas. We said this already to the Mishnah. Going to the Kamma, tzduki is like a go, you have to schius. Going to Gamliel, tzduki is like a yid, you do bit of a shus. And once you do bit of a shus, you have to be careful that it doesn't cancel it on you. But not kasha. But Tanya, indeed, we have a price to back this up. Adam nochit tzduki by susi alo oisin Allah. That's shittas Tanna Kamma, that tzduki by susi and a goy all have the same din. He says you should be curious next time. Actually, it's okay. The mayor held that what? That the tzduki said, do bit of a shus. He did a bit of a shus, but what were they concerned about? He could change his mind. So he said, quickly do whatever you need to do before the tzduki starts taking his things out into the mavui and changing his mind. He held that a bit of shus does not work by its tzduki. Yes. No, it's like a goy. So a bit of shus does not work. So what did he say to them to do? Work whatever you want to do on Friday before Shabbos. Again, according to the Kamma, tzduki is like a goy. According to Gamliel, we have a two-way machlekas. Shittas Rameir is like a yid, and if he could do a bit of a shus, and therefore Gamliel told his children, do whatever you need to do before he changes his mind. That means on Shabbos, do whatever you need to do, because halfway through Shabbos, he change his mind. According to Yehuda, is like a goy, so he can't do bit of a shus. So therefore, do whatever you need to do before Shabbos comes in, not before he changes his mind. The difference, they both said very similar. When Gamliel said, get on that job and do whatever you need to do. According to first shit is, get on do whatever you do before he changes his mind. Even on Shabbos, because he can change his mind on Shabbos. And the second shitta is before Shabbos, because once Shabbos comes in, you can't do anything because you can't do bit of a shus, and this tzduki would not allow us to work on Shabbos. So we're going to stop over here, Mama, because it's a new topic, and also because it's Friday, we'll see to slightly less. So Mr. Shem will do this on Shabbos. At what time? No, Motzei Shabbos at 8:15. Right. Oh. Okay, shkirch.